wishing you health and unwavering peace of mind. Welcome to Sovereign Senior Finance. Picture this. The mortgage was burned a decade ago. The neighborhood is safe. The retirement accounts, despite the volatility of global markets, have finally stabilized after 40 years of your relentless labor. You have achieved the ultimate Canadian dream. Absolute financial independence. Yet, inside hundreds of thousands of these fortresses of financial security across the country, there is a new threat growing louder by the day. It is not inflation. It is not a sudden shift in North American trade policies, and it is not a market correction. It is the sound of absolute, terrifying silence. Today, we are examining a phenomenon that is quietly reshaping our nation: the loneliness epidemic and the profoundly silent homes of elderly Canadians. On the surface, this appears to be a strictly personal issue, a matter of family dynamics or social scheduling. But as a geopolitical analyst, I'm here to tell you that this silence is not just a personal tragedy. It is a macroeconomic fault line. The isolation of Canada's silver generation is rapidly becoming one of the most significant structural vulnerabilities in our national economy, directly impacting everything from healthcare, sustainability, to the transfer of generational wealth. To understand the magnitude of this shift, we must first look at the stark reality on the ground, across the vast expanse of this country. From the historic neighborhoods of Halifax to the sprawling suburbs of the Greater Toronto Area and the quiet enclaves of Vancouver Island, we are witnessing an unprecedented demographic event. Millions of Canadians aged 55 and older are successfully aging in place. They are living in 3- and 4-bedroom homes where the children have long since moved out. The physical space remains, but the human density has vanished. The facts extracted from recent sociological observations are chilling. We are seeing a historic rise in single-occupant elderly households. These are homes that were designed for bustling families, now occupied by a single individual navigating echoing hallways. The loneliness epidemic is characterized by days that pass with little to no meaningful social interaction. The telephone rings less frequently. The community networks that once bound neighborhoods together have frayed, replaced by the atomization of modern digital life. For many in the silver generation, their home has transitioned from a sanctuary of family life into an isolated silo. But why does this matter to the broader Canadian economy? And why should it matter to the future of your legacy? To answer that, we must zoom out and look at the geopolitical and macroeconomic chessboard. Canada is currently navigating a period of intense global friction. Supply chains are regionalizing. Protectionist trade policies are becoming the norm among our largest trading partners, and the global competition for labor and capital is fiercer than at any point since the Cold War. In this environment, a nation's economic resilience is heavily dependent on the velocity of its domestic capital and the cohesion of its society. Herein lies the great paradox of the silent Canadian home. The silver generation currently holds the vast majority of Canada's private real estate wealth. Trillions of dollars in equity are locked inside these quiet, underutilized properties. Simultaneously, Canada is relying on aggressive immigration policies to offset our aging demographic and provide the tax base necessary to fund our social safety nets, particularly healthcare. These two realities are colliding with destructive force. The incoming workforce, the very people needed to pay into the pension systems and staff. The hospitals that the silver generation relies upon are entirely priced out of the housing market. Capital is trapped in silent homes, while the economic engine of the youth is stifled by exorbitant shelter costs. We have inadvertently engineered a society where our most experienced citizens are socially starved in massive houses, while our most productive younger citizens are economically starved in cramped apartments. This dynamic mirrors a concept in international economics known as the resource curse. Typically, this refers to nations that rely so heavily on a single natural resource like oil or minerals that they fail to develop a diversified, innovative economy. In Canada today, we are experiencing a real estate iteration of the resource curse. We have poured our national wealth into the dead capital of oversized, underoccupied housing, rather than into productive businesses, technology, or community infrastructure. The silent home is the physical manifestation of this economic Beyond the macroeconomic data, there is a profound psychological and biological toll that directly threatens your sovereign wealth. Evolutionary biology dictates that human beings are tribal. We are wired for community. When a human being is subjected to prolonged isolation, the brain perceives it as a state of primal danger. Cortisol levels rise, inflammation increases, and cognitive decline accelerates. The medical community now equates the health risks of chronic loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This biological reality translates into an immense economic burden. The Canadian healthcare system is already buckling under the weight of labor shortages and provincial funding disputes. As the silent epidemic of loneliness accelerates physical and cognitive decline among seniors, the demand on our medical infrastructure will compound exponentially. But more critically, isolation makes the silver generation highly vulnerable to the erosion of their legacy. An isolated senior is a prime target for financial exploitation. When you are removed from the daily flow of family discourse, you lose the collaborative defense mechanisms that protect wealth. We are seeing a rising tide of sophisticated financial scams targeting older Canadians, succeeding precisely because these individuals have no one sitting across the kitchen table to offer a second opinion. Furthermore, the quiet dissipation of wealth through unnecessary services, deferred maintenance on large properties, and reactive emergency healthcare spending slowly bleeds the estate dry. This brings us to the ultimate question of legacy. What is the purpose of securing all this wealth? If the final chapters of life are spent guarding an empty fortress, for decades, the standard metric of success in North America was total independence. We were taught that the ultimate goal was to rely on no one, to own our property outright, and to age behind our own closed doors. But the shifting geopolitical and economic realities of the 21st century require us to fundamentally rethink this paradigm. Independence, taken to its absolute extreme, becomes isolation. And isolation, in today's economy, is a strategic vulnerability. If we look at how sovereign nations protect their futures, they do not isolate themselves. They build strategic alliances. They integrate their economies, they share resources, and they fortify their supply chains. The silver generation must begin to manage their family wealth and their social capital with the same strategic mindset. True sovereign wealth is not just a high net worth on a spreadsheet. It is structural resilience. We must consider the transition from independence to interdependence. This might mean leveraging the trapped equity in a silent, 4-bedroom home to fund a multi-generational living arrangement, a model that has sustained resilient cultures for centuries and is making a rapid economic comeback. By consolidating capital with your children or grandchildren, you solve their housing crisis while simultaneously solving your isolation crisis. It allows for the pooling of resources to combat inflation, provides built-in caregiving to bypass the strained healthcare system, and ensures that your hard-earned wisdom is transferred daily, not just in a will read after you are gone. If multi-generational living is not the answer for your specific family, the solution lies in intentional community building. It means strategically downsizing not just for financial liquidity, but for social density. It requires viewing your capital as a tool to purchase proximity to peers, culture, and activity, rather than just square footage. The wealth you have built should be deployed to insulate you from the silent epidemic, creating a vibrant, interconnected final act rather than a quiet withdrawal. The terrifyingly silent homes of elderly Canadians stand as a monument to an economic era that has passed. The world is changing rapidly, and the strategies that got us here will not protect us in the future. You have spent a lifetime building your financial sovereignty. Do not let it be quietly eroded by the subtle, creeping tax of isolation. Your wealth, your experience, and your presence are invaluable assets to your family and to this nation. It is time to unlock those doors. Deploy that capital strategically, and ensure that the legacy you leave is one of vibrant connection, not just a quiet, empty house. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your continued trust.